defensive end. And like you said, SJ he played, I've seen him grow. I first saw him when he was a first year high school
Oh
player.
yeah, with you, yeah.
He was already, way above his level, his age group.
Mm.
But now, I honestly didn't expect him and RJ Abarrientos to play as well as they did against
Same, yeah.
professional level Korean players. Ha? I mean, on paper, our depth against their depth at the guard position,
Mm.
talagang labang sila. Depth and experience. But
Mm.
ang ang galing parang they grew up right before our eyes eh. I mean,
Mm.
RJ, he's just para siyang he's like a Jason Castro or a Terence Romeo, but a bit more disciplined, I guess.
Mm.
Um, and SJ naman, I'm not even sure I can compare him to anyone eh. Kasi siguro may konting LA Tenorio kasi medyo may gulang, 'di ba? Yung parang wala sa itsura na he's gonna be able to do these things. But he just does them so well. And there were a few moments, especially that first game, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Diego, no, na he kind of fished for the fouls of the
Yeah.
Korean guys.
Yeah.
And he's been doing that, ever since. Nag-uusap nga kaming coaches sa group chat namin na nakita na natin to eh. We
Yeah.
saw this before when he was in the juniors division. I'm sure everyone has seen it in the UAAP. I'm sure the Korean coach had not seen it before that first game, so
Yeah.
they probably didn't have him scouted, and they didn't know that that's part of his tendency to really parang try to fish for the foul of the opposing guards, and he did that really well. Because yeah, you're right. The top two guards of Korea, I think that was Lee Dae Sung and Kim Nak Kyun. They fouled out
Yeah.
in that
Crucial
first
moments.
game.
Yeah.
Crucial talaga
Yeah.
because they had to dig deep into their third stringer guard
Mm.
to replace them. No, so that was really good on our part. So those two guys, RJ and SJ, really stepped up big time at the guard position. And considering that they weren't even supposed to play heavy minutes because it was supposed to be Matt Nieto
And Suerte, right?
who was starting, yeah, and Ray Suerte, who was
Yeah.
maybe backing him up.
Yeah.
So these are two guys who maybe one of them would have been cut, diba? If
Mm.
Ray and Matt would have been healthy.
Mm.
Maybe if one GDL were even in the
Oh yeah.
bubble, maybe
Yeah.
maybe neither SJ or RJ would even be there. But
Yeah.
as it turns out, they were the difference makers, diba? SJ, of course, that he made that game winner in the first game, and they both had big moments in the second game against Korea also. So I don't think anybody, expected them to play as well as they did. And we all knew they were going to be spunky, gritty, never say die point guards. But to play the way they did, uh, wow, hats off to them. Exceeded expectations in a big way.
Yeah. Nung first half nga nung Korea, I think RJ only was inserted to the game like late in the first half, and I was wondering like where is he? Why isn't he playing? And then when they made him play like mid or late first half, he exploded for like 5 or 7 points right away. And then everyone was tweeting about him already. So they were so excited because I think SJ struggled offensively in the first half. So they were like, why is he getting all the minutes? Ganun. They were like, oh, because he's an Ateneo. Diba all the people like, I mean, I'm from Lasal, but I don't say like, oh, these players are getting minutes because they're Ateneo lang. I saw like tweets pa like that. Pero when Belangel stepped up in the second half, binabawi lahat nung sinabi nila. Kasi the second half pareho silang gumawa, right? So it's really contradicting sometimes and you can't talk too soon when it comes to those things. Because yeah, SJ was able to bounce back. And Coach Tab is good in third quarters. I think that's what Diego Dario tweeted. And I also had him in my podcast before. Like he said that Coach Tab after the half, he's good in like motivating his players to perform better in the second half. I don't know what he does, but he does something. And pag third quarter, nawala na yung lamang ng kalaban kaagad. And it starts with also the point guard defense and offense of RJ and SJ.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Mm.
Diego's right. I mean, Diego Dario would know just
Yeah.
how good Coach Tab is because he's played against the Ateneo teams of Coach Tab, diba?
Mm.
And the great thing, of the many great things. Now, one of the great things about Coach Tab is he adjusts really well, especially at the mid game, like what you said, Diego, no? Because he reads the game so well, and he never gets rattled. I mean, this guy has coached at at all levels of basketball, so he's seen everything. So there's nothing in any game, whether he's up by 10, up by 15, or down by 15, down by 20, that'll really rattle him. And that stability, that composure, the players feed off of that, and then they're able to adjust, especially in the second half. And that's kind of what we saw also. No, I remember that first game against Korea, we were down, like what you said, as many as 17 points. But honestly, when we were trailing 33-16 in the second quarter, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh no, this is parang, we're not gonna overhaul a 17-point lead
Yeah.
against professional Korean players, diba? That's crazy. That's not gonna happen. But we were able to do exactly that. We chipped away at the lead, and then we eventually took the lead in the second half, tied it at 52 all with the Dwight Ramos fast break layup, and then of course eventually won on an SJ Belangel buzzer beating three. But again, it's really a hallmark of like what the players keep on saying, the system and the mindset and the culture. And though when people say system, mindset, culture, it's so ano ba? It's so abstract. Parang you can't really grasp at it. But from a coach's perspective, those are very, very important things to build upon, because if those things are solid, then that means your team's character is solid, and that means no matter what the other team throws at you, you'll probably find a way to play through it and be competitive. And that's what we did against Korea. We hung in there. We were competitive for the entire game, and then we put ourselves in a position to win with 2.9 seconds left. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what SJ did. He won the game for us. And I understand maybe some of the fans who might say na parang, ba't si SJ pinapasok, hindi si RJ, ganyan. I mean,
Yeah.
because they have similarities, but they're also two very different. They
Mm.
play very different styles. And I'm sure you noticed it. No,
Mm.
SJ, if he wanted to, if he really, really wanted to, he could, you know, take 30 shots at least a game if he wanted
Mm.
to. And when he came to Ateneo, I remember, I think this was like 6 years ago, when he came in as a freshman, the word was this is a kid who scored 99 points in a game in SBP or in Palaro when he was in Bacolod. So he was a scorer. He was a born scorer. But he was able to transcend that and kind of add different dimensions to his game. He's now a great ball handler, tagababa ng bola, which is very important. He has amazing court vision, and he sets players up really, really well. And he can, when he came into Ateneo, he was really more of just a slasher, who had really, great upper body strength, could finish at the basket. But he developed a mid-range game. He developed a three-point shooting game, and he's such a well-rounded offensive player. And then defensively, he's so, how do you say it, madiscarte.
Yeah, yeah.
He'll,
That's
he'll
correct.
be able to he'll be able to draw an offensive foul, draw a charge,
Mm.
and then smile at the bench afterwards. Nakita niyo yun, coach. But
Yeah.
sobrang niyang wily and madiscarting player. And
Mm.
that's really one of his strengths. On the other side, you have RJ, who's man, he can score in bunches. I remember a game against him and the FEU Baby Tamaraws. I think this was
Mm.
mga 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
We played them at the Blue Eagle gym, and Kaya Soto was still with us in the juniors. RJ burned us for like I think 9 3-pointers in a game.
Oo.
He parang kami, man, this guy, he's unscoutable because you could break him down and all his tendencies and whatever. You could have someone try to shadow him, cover him from the opposite baseline to the other baseline, and still he'd find a way to slither and slide and get himself open and pull up for a three. And that's what he did against Korea. He found ways to score. Double clutch. May mga
Yeah.
pabali pa siyang tira, di ba? He's
Mm.
pull up threes. Yung mga tipong if you're a coach, no, 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 no. And then
Yeah.
yes, pumasok. Para okay, very good.
Yeah.
So they're two very different styles. I mean, maybe RJ's a bit more highlight worthy or exciting, so to speak. But on the other end, SJ just does so many little things so well also. So I'm happy for both of them.
Yeah. For SJ, I realized also that he mentioned in an interview that he idol niya si Jimmy Alapag kaya ginagaya niya yung parang playing style na siya yung next batch of point guards of Gilas Pilipinas. And si RJ naman, I heard also in an interview of Olsen Rosella that baka daw mamaya mas magaling pa kay Johnny A. Hindi ko kung inaasar lang niya si Johnny A na baka pag nag-retire daw si RJ like in the span of his whole career, baka daw maging mas magaling pa kay Johnny A. Kasi yung ngayon at 19, maybe when you saw him play and he made 9 threes, maybe he was what, 17, 16 pa lang at that time.
Mga ganun, yeah,
So
yeah.
now at 19, talagang ang layo na nung ginaling niya. And masipag talaga siya nakikita mo kahit, yeah, everyone says he's already a star, highly touted rookie in the next UAP season. Parang masipag pa rin siya and he's still continuing to improve on his game. And it's really important. And we'll see also in the OQT because I think the point guards are gonna be taller there.
Oh yeah, they're gonna go up against Serbian point guards
Yeah.
and Dominican point guards who the Dominicans may not be as tall or may not be, they might not dwarf RJ and SJ, but the Serbians certainly will. And I mean, imagine they probably have a similar skill set, but they're at least 4 inches
Mm-mm.
taller and they have wider shoulders and they're more experienced. Basarado pa siguro sila, di ba? So it's gonna be an intimidating atmosphere. But I think based on what we've seen, SJ and RJ, they're kind of alphas. Eh. They will thrive in that and they will welcome that challenge. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if SJ, even if we're gonna lose one or both of those games, I wouldn't be surprised if SJ and RJ have their magic moments, have their moments where they're gonna score in a big guy, or SJ will draw an offensive foul and then smirk again. Yung mga ganung play. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of those uh, at the OQT.